there are a couple of things actually. Let's say maybe two things. So first of all, I think the data play, which is essentially another good example where data is gonna be the main differentiator. So they claim that they have collected about 1 billion of hours of sleep data from people from 35 different countries. So this is a play which is interesting because if you add AI and then you add unique niche data, then you have a very powerful defensible combination for a company. So talking about Italian abroad, we have to talk about 8 Sleep, raising a growth round from Tether Investment at a 1.5 billion valuation. So we need to talk about this. I mean, 8 Sleep has been in the market for a long time. They do basically, software powered like bed that, I'm simplifying and I apologize, but essentially the idea is to optimize sleep by collecting data and basically give the best possible sleep experience on the planet. And this has been their sole goal for the past 10-15 years. They've been doing really good in the US. You can really find it mediatically, you can find them pretty much anywhere. That's a great strategy. And the founder is Italian and he's been leading the company really in an interesting direction. On top of which, I think there are a couple of things actually. Let's say maybe two things. So first of all, I think the data play, which is essentially another good example where data is gonna be the main differentiator. So they claim that they have collected about 1 billion of hours of sleep data from people from 35 different countries. So this is a play which is interesting because if you add AI and then you add unique niche data, then you have a very powerful defensible combination for a company. And this is where a lot of companies are going, where then Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, is the problem is not the application of AI, it's commoditized. It's not the development of AI. You can't even touch a model if you want to develop it from scratch. The point is, teaching the model with your proprietary, unique and defensible data. So that's a very interesting angle there.
Yeah. I agree with you. And in the case of eight sleep, the moat is physical. I mean, that data only comes from their product. That's an add-on to your bed or the entire mattress for what matters. And that's an important moat. It's not easy to get the same amount of data. You can't download it from somewhere else.
Yeah. And the other element is the fact that the founder really want to transition it from a wellness company to a health company. So really they are making sure that the infrastructure is as stable as possible in terms of requirement to make it sort of healthcare grade. Let me use that term. So that's a even huge, bigger market than, it's a nice to have and whatever, usually better. But when they make this kind of jump, that really unlocks another level of business for sure. So that's very interesting. Let's quickly talk about the investor, which it's an interesting Italian founder that basically, we don't talk enough about him, but I think we should probably. So Tether Investment, of course, backed by Tether, sort of the crypto company. So very interesting, based on El Salvador, Italian founder, and massive numbers in terms of net income and revenue. Let's not even begin to unpack that. It was going to take
too many zeros.
Too many zeros. I don't even want to think about. But what is interesting is that their strategy is really to become a key investors in deals, early stage to growth deals. And we've been seeing, this is not the first time Tether Investment is participating. So very active player, more and more for sure for what's going to happen. And especially for 8 Sleep, what is interesting is that Tether is also developing an on-edge AI technology, which perfectly fits on what 8 Sleep is doing. So imagine this, you collect your own data, everything is local, the AI model is local, full privacy, you own everything, and then, you can get all the benefits from there. So very, very interesting angles on different levels, I would say.
Nice.
All right. So Yeah, I mean, the Tether deal, we should make a full episode on that. It's too interesting. It's too interesting. All
Good
right,
point. Good
Nick.
point. We don't talk about them enough, I would say. But
Exactly. Interesting week. I was trying to actually find out some patterns that to understand where capital is going, where it's been going in the last week, and trying to put together like a few dots. Not easy for last week because there are different sort of deals. But I think what's interesting is that what we can say is probably Italy is kind of directing more and more capital toward like a core applied solution on different levels. And this past week has been like very interesting in seeing maybe a few of these deals. And there are some core also Italian problematic like Isaac, and we're going to talk about it, which is very, very Italian in a sense, but with a big reach probably around the old Europe. So that's interesting. And a few different interesting form of startups like what we've been seeing in Techvisory with this big like executive sort of pulling in and trying to build their own thing, which is unusual in a way. So maybe let's get going with talking about Isaac first. So Isaac, solution to improve earthquake resilience for building, raising about 14 million in a growth round from CDP Venture Capital, 360, Axon Partners, Azimut, and Nova Capital. So again, very interesting technology. So basically what they're doing is they're developing technology to help building resist earthquakes. Basically, they have this dampening technology that basically offset any kind of ground movement. This is very interesting, and as I was mentioning, it's very Italian. As of course, the architectural and historic sort of heritage is huge, and this is like a great way to sort of protect. Given that in Italy, I didn't know there was only in 2025. They say that they were recorded about like 15,000 earthquake of different scales, of course. But it's a huge number. It's a huge number, and that's a very interesting and narrow application. But despite of that, and somebody can say, hey, it's such a narrow application, it's such an Italian thing. Well, the company has been like doing very well. It's about 9 million in revenue for the past year. So kudos to them for sure for doing that and working very well in a specific niche.
yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm not sure that it is so much Italian only in terms of technology. So think about Japan in a sense. So I believe that Italy and Japan are the two most, the two countries with most earthquakes going on every year. So I didn't know about the number in Italy. That's almost frightening. But I'm pretty sure that there are other areas in the world. California, anyone? So that are on pieces of earth that are moving, so there are earthquakes as well. So I'm not surprised that Italy is the place where the technology started. I think that there are global applications to this.
Yeah. And on top of that, talking about the Japan, I know that they basically build from scratch, paying attention to what earthquakes are gonna look like. So there is like sort of a very foundational architecture there. What is interesting of Isaac is that it's a retrofit technology, which is not too obvious. So that's very powerful because retrofitting basically give you access to, anything essentially. And so you don't have to build from scratch. So their angle is extremely, extremely powerful. And one other element I think is that, when everyone maybe in construction technologies pivoting is investing or working on, software, AI application, software solution for construction, these guys are taking a different route, which is more on the retrofit hardware sort of route. And it's pretty interesting. We don't see that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Can you believe you upgrade your home to resist earthquakes? That's pretty cool in a sense.
That's pretty cool. Awesome. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Techvisory, AI advisory and product startup raising 2.5 million in early stage round from undisclosed institutional investors. So this is an interesting animal, I feel. It's essentially an advisory / product company. What is interesting is that a lot of big executives from different fields have been essentially pulled together to work on different on this kind of project, especially Franco Bernabé, which is the former chairman and CEO of Telecom Italia, so one of the biggest telecom company, of course, in Italy. So a few angles here. So first of all, Nick, I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think of a startup funded by former executives compared to 30-year-old, 25-year-old founders? Like, what's the VC stance on that, or like, how do you think about that?
So that's a good question. I'm not sure I can generalize. I mean, um, this is a very peculiar case. It's not, your average manager leaving a company and founding a startup. This is the former chairman of the biggest telco company in Italy. So that's something. Um, but in a general sense, the misconception is about thinking that the average founder backed by a VC is at 25 years old. That's not true. So the average is way older, and it's probably a former manager coming up from some kind of structured company. So I would say very super interesting. But in this case, it is very peculiar because the background of one of the founders is, a top manager in a
Yeah,
very big
yeah,
company.
yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's so rare, but it's a bit unusual. So it's a weird beast to consider.
Yeah, the way I see it is, you have, okay, let's be polite and give the two arguments in favor and against. So the favor part would be, okay, they have basically so much value, human value, connections, network, that they can accelerate like no other founder can do. Like a 30-year-old founder needing to build their own ecosystem, talking with clients from scratch and building something is definitely take longer than a senior executive in such a great position. So a lot of access that can really accelerate and spread like a wildfire, no problem. But the case against can be also the fact that, it's a skill problem. Running a multi-billion company, public multi-billion company, require super refined skills of a certain kind, which might be different actually than running like a 4-person team trying to do something completely new. So that's the eternal dilemma, right? Like when you have, founders that are great at building from 0 to 1, but then they need to kind of hand off their company to different kind of management style. So yeah, it can backfire, I would say. But
Yeah,
definitely it's an interesting beast, yeah.
that's a very good point. It really depends on the rest of the team. So as you mentioned, you have a superpower in the founder, but a potential great weakness, and you need to see whether there is balance
Yeah,
between great power and weaknesses in the team.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. All right, talking about maybe some acquisition. So OneTag acquired Ariyel. So we're in the field of programmatic advertising, and basically OneTag is basically combining Ariyel's technology with the OneTag platform for marketing and content distribution in general. So in Italy, acquisition happened. Actually, more than one might think, actually, when where company acquire like really valuable startups. So that's a good news for the ecosystem, and this is a great example for that. I don't know what's your take on this.
Yeah, no, this is good news since Ariel is a VC-backed company. So Prana Ventures led the seed round a few years ago. So, I mean, the good news is liquidity back into the system. So this is always an interesting piece of news. More so as Ariel, so if you take a look at the basic numbers, appears to be a company that have been growing in a healthy way, top line, employees, so good distribution outside of Italy. So all good dynamics here. So that means that there appears to be a good deal in some sense. So good news for the ecosystem.
And it's not a small company, right? At the end of the day, it's not like a 4-person team, really. It's a
No,
decent
it
size.
appears to LinkedIn says at least 50 affiliated members. So maybe there are 40, but again, that's a good number.
Yeah.
And I have no idea about, how much revenue per employee they're generating, but still, from years back they've been growing. So we know that, revenues have been going up. So
Yeah, and I think the good news here is that sort of the M&A route is a viable route, like it all affects. Every year we keep seeing a startup being acquired by bigger startup or bigger companies. So that's interesting because, when like early founders, they start a company, okay, exiting is always like, okay, maybe what's going to happen, IPOs and M&A. Well, M&A is definitely a super viable route, which is real. That's
yeah, it is the main one, right?
it is the main one. Actually,
I haven't seen many IPOs of VC backed company in Italy or Italian related enterprises.
yeah.
So
So M&A is the route right now.
M&A has
Is
been the way
probably
to
has been
go.
the way. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think the only
Interesting.
company that has currently rumors about an IPO, but still it's not really VC backed. Is again our good friends at Bending Spoons.
Exactly, exactly. That's awesome. Nick, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you and everyone in the next episode.